It is darkened outside. Temperatures are sitting at 61 in Buffalo. We have a northerly wind at 7. Good sleeping weather tonight, folks. What was that? Did anybody see that thing go past? Did we just see a shooting star on Skywatch? That was awesome.
If you fall into this river, you will never make it out. The Bolton Sturt is the most dangerous river in the world, and local legend believes 100% of the people who fall in never make it out alive. Located in Yorkshire, England, this river is 65 feet of a beautiful path of trees and stony beaches, but one area known as Bolton Sturt has a current so strong that if you were to fall in, you'd be dragged away and pulled under due to the frequent whirlpools that occur there. On the surface, it looks shallow, which causes many to let their guard down, but it's actually 15 feet deep with caves and rocks that would tear a human body apart, and the turbulence is so powerful that it could knock you unconscious. This is definitely one of the scariest bodies of water. The most haunted road in the world. Clinton Road, located in West Milford, New Jersey, has everything from murders to satanic cults, horrific creatures, and evil hauntings. With little to no houses and having one of the country's longest red lights, you have a good chance of encountering some of the paranormal happenings that go on there. Not only was it a dumping ground for bodies, one of the most famous tales is of a phantom truck, a black pickup that chases down anyone that enters Clinton Road, and people report to have been chased and tailgated as soon as they enter late at night. But when they reach the end, the truck seems to vanish.
Ring cam catches something disturbing.
The boy in the chimney. 18-year-old Josh Maddox left his house to run errands, but went missing for 7 years until his remains were found in a chimney in a nearby cabin with no signs of a struggle and sitting in the fetal position. He only had on a thermal undershirt, and the rest of his clothes were lying on the floor inside the cabin, neatly folded. Rebar at the opening of the chimney meant he wouldn't have been able to climb down it, so he must have been trying to climb up. Tests showed no signs of drugs or alcohol, no blunt force trauma, no bullet wounds, and no knife wounds. Police believe Josh climbed into the chimney and got stuck, and possibly died from hypothermia, although no cause of death has ever been confirmed. The Bible Belt Strangler. Between 1972 and 1992, an unidentified serial killer wreaked havoc in the Bible Belt, and as even as far north as Pennsylvania. Nicknamed the Bible Belt Strangler, his victims were usually redheads, and many of them went unidentified for years. Police still don't know if the murders were committed by one person or more than one, and the presumed body count is between 6 and 11. 2 possible suspects were found, and one suspect matched the DNA to one of the murders, but he died in prison. The other suspect was subsequently let go due to lack of evidence, meaning the Bible Belt Strangler could very well still be at large. Scariest trail cam photos. A deer seems to notice this little girl out in the woods, but something is off about her. A ghostly figure in a nightgown roaming the dense wilderness is something you don't want to see out on a camping trip. In 2012, a Virginia trail cam captured a zombie-like creature. The Omen's Curse. The Omen, a movie about the Antichrist, quite possibly awoke something evil. Gregory Peck, the movie's main character, canceled a flight that later crashed, and his other flight was struck by lightning. Peck was set to have dinner with the staff from the movie, but the restaurant exploded, as well as the hotel the producer was staying at. A special effects artist was driving with his wife when they got into a head-on collision, decapitating his wife in the crash, and a road sign near the crash was for the town, Omen. Mysterious ER visit. Gloria Ramirez arrived at the ER with a fast heart rate and abnormal breathing. Not only was she confused, she had an aroma of garlic and was covered in an oily substance. When doctors drew her blood, they noticed tiny particles floating and an aroma of ammonia from her blood. Then several members of the hospital staff fell ill and passed out. After an emergency evacuation of the hospital, a night crew kept treating Gloria, but after she died, at least 23 people fell ill and another 5 needed hospitalization. No one has ever been able to explain what exactly happened that night. My uncle was a cop in LA. He was attending a road traffic accident where a car had been racing around a corner too quickly, gone off the road, and gotten stuck between some cement blocks. The car was completely vertical, the driver facing down to the ground and the trunk facing the sky. The guy was relatively coherent, but he was trapped in the car because the front of the car was crunched and his legs were stuck. The car set on fire before they could get him out, and he was basically burned alive. When they got the car out, all that was left was bones. Say You Love Satan killer. 17-year-old Ricky Casso, also known as the Acid King, murdered his friend in a satanic-like ritual. 17-year-old Gary Lawyers was bit in the neck, then stabbed 36 times while being told to say you love Satan by Casso. The body was found under some brush and missing 2 eyes that were sliced out during the attack. After the killing, Casso claims Satan manifested in front of him with a black crow that cawed, which he believes was Satan showing his approval. He often bragged to others about it and would often show people the body when they didn't believe him. Casso ended up taking his own life after he was arrested. Many know of the twisted things Jeff Dahmer has done, but few know about the demented art project he had planned. He had serious plans and sketches for an altar that he would use for meditation, but the altar would have been downright disturbing. It would have been made from human remains, with a black table of skulls and skeletons that would sit in his living room. The photos he took of the deceased would have been there as well, but Dahmer was arrested before the altar was built. Lauren Giddings was stalked and later killed by Stephen McDaniel on June 26, 2011. After police searched his home, they found a video camera with something that you'd only find in your worst nightmare. What you're seeing right now is McDaniel videotaping Lauren right outside her window the night he killed her. Kelly Dove made 3 alarming 911 calls about a suspicious man outside of the gas station she worked at. She wasn't able to describe any facial features, just that he was dressed inappropriately and yelling obscenities at her. On the 3rd call, Kelly begged the police to hurry, and she said he was driving a silver Ford, but when the police arrived, she was gone. There were no signs of a struggle or a robbery and no witnesses. Police never found the suspicious man or Kelly Dove, and the case remains open to this day. Somebody called the Howard Stern show with a grim confession. The caller claims to have killed at least 12 prostitutes in the New Orleans area, and the details the caller gives are quite convincing. Not only that, but between 1991 and 1996, New Orleans had an unidentified serial killer who primarily killed prostitutes, and a year later, this call was made.
Okay, Clay, so what happened? How many prostitutes have you killed?
12.
And you're wondering why you do it?
I have a pretty good idea.
Why? Did your mom beat you? Did your mom spank you?
Was your mom a prostitute?
No. Actually, nothing like that.
What is it then?
I think I just do it for the sense of the power.
A man finds a picture with the most beautiful girl he'd ever seen. It was a girl holding a peace sign with long brunette hair. He asked everyone he knew, but no one knew who this mysterious girl was. He was walking home when he heard a faint giggle, and when he turned his head towards the noise, he noticed it. The girl he had been looking for was right there, just across the street. Had he not been so flustered, he would have seen the car coming his way. He was killed immediately with a picture of a girl holding up 3 fingers. John Wayne Gacy had an interesting response when asked about Jeffrey Dahmer.
What do I think of Jeffrey Dahmer? I don't know the man personally, but I'll tell you this, that's a good example as to why insanity doesn't belong in the courtroom. Because if Jeffrey Dahmer doesn't meet the requirements for insanity, then I'd hate like hell to run into the guy that does.
Did you know John Carpenter didn't intend for Halloween 2 to take place in a hospital? Instead of picking up right where it left off, it was actually supposed to take place a few years after the first movie, with Laurie living in a high-rise apartment. Michael would track her down, and she would have to escape through the huge building, with Michael Myers slowly on her trail. It was scrapped before any filming or writing had been done, and we were left with the hospital setting. Stephen King may be the king of horror, but like others, he has things that scare him. Unlike spiders or snakes, his fear happens every day, and there's no avoiding it, unless you're lucky. Alzheimer's, a disease that impacts millions each year, destroys your memory, and keeps Stephen King up at night. Being a writer, he fears the day he loses his mind and won't be able to share his work anymore. A pilot for the US Navy captured this unidentified flying object on his radar. The pilot is in complete shock as the object flies so fast against 120-knot winds. The footage originally leaked in 2007, but the Pentagon finally released it 10 years later.
A fleet of them, look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.